As you already know, because you're subscribed to this YouTube channel, I am long in the market right now, but there are still some real signs for why we could end up dropping lower, why we have to do that. I'm going to be breaking that down for you, right? I still maintain that I think Bitcoin's going to go up. I've made a beautiful profit so far. I've done it all on Bybit, which you can get access to with $30,000 of trading ammunition that they give you for free as well. But at the same time, there's still a lot that could go against my favor, and that's why I want to bring this up to you. Now, before we continue in this video, I want to highlight to you that this offer is available in the description down below, along with 50% off inside of VIP. We'll get to that stuff later on in the video, but after we cover the reasons why the market should drop down, I'm also going to tell you why I think, you know what, we might just continue rising up straight from here so that you can make your own conclusion on what you think is likely to happen. Now, the first thing to keep in mind here is that Bitcoin has traveled up very impressively in a fairly short space of time, right? Which just means that we need to have retracements. Let me just find the right chart to draw this on. This means that we need to have retracements on our chart, and what's really interesting about where we are right now is that if we draw a Fibonacci retracement from the bottom to the very top, and then look at our, potentially the best, most important level on this chart, that puts us at between 23.9 to 24.6, which is a really, really nice bounce zone for Bitcoin, because if I just drop two vertical lines on these two fib levels. Now, the reason these are very important is Bitcoin just loves to bounce off these levels. These levels are also mirrors of the 618 and 66 level. If you don't know what any of that means, that's probably because you haven't learned about the Fibonacci retracement tool, which is by far one of the most reliable, accurate, powerful indicators in the market. This is definitely something that you need to know about, and it is something that I've covered inside of my course, which you can gain access to by joining VIP. All right, most of you guys that join will be getting the course completely free of charge alongside your membership as well, which is very, very cool. If we drop these two horizontal lines, we can see quite clearly that this is where a lot of our retracements have already happened. We would power up into this range and fall back down, and again and again, and then when we finally get to break it, we also get a big explosion. So there's two real things that can tell us a level is important. Number one, that the level is respected, right? So we hit it, we get rejected. That's number one. Number two is when we get the breakout, that the breakout is explosive. The bigger the breakout, the stronger the indication that the market is going to respect that level the next time we come to it, which almost makes it a bit of a magnet, right? Bitcoin is clearly finding resistance right now at $28,000, and we know why. If we drop another horizontal line right here, it's very clear. We can trace the price action back to where this has been at least somewhat historically relevant to Bitcoin. And crucially, Bitcoin doesn't have a lot of price history between $25,000 and $40,000 or 25 and 33, right? There's just not much price action happening in this range. The only time Bitcoin has ever traded within this gap on the chart is everything you'll see on screen right now. Like, we've never actually been here again up until just now. So there's not that much price history. There aren't very many particularly important levels in this price range, and that means anything we do have is going to shine even more, right? If you imagine you've got a sea of, I don't know, this is going to be a really weird one, like a sea of fucking lampposts or like traffic cones, right? Like you've got a lot of them, and then you suddenly have one that's really big. It's going to look big relative to the rest, but if you have no traffic cones and then one traffic cone right in the middle, that's going to stand out like a sore thumb, and that is going to go down in the Hall of Fame of the horrible analogies I've come up with on the channel, so I'm very proud of myself for that one. But this is the sole traffic cone. This is the warrior traffic cone that stands on his own, and it is impressive. It's definitely something that could turn into a problem for Bitcoin, and I think that's also a really important kind of second reason for why Bitcoin should be getting a pullback. But back to the point of 24K, it's almost like a magnet, right? Like, it's almost like it's bound to happen that we get a bit of a leg down here before potentially continuing on upwards. It just looks like it was made to happen. It was meant to be, especially given that we are finding resistance down here. So Fibonacci level, already important support. There isn't any support anyway that Bitcoin can find other than this. I've been saying $25,000, and if I plot that line on this chart, $25,000 looks like this, which is more or less exactly where my first line was anyway. So this is all the same price range, right? When Bitcoin falls down to support, it doesn't fall down to $25,000 on the dot. It'll fall down to 25.2 or 24.8, right? That's what we generally see. Maybe we overshoot it by a lot. Sometimes our support lines look like this, and we overshoot our support by this much. It's called deviations, and it's something that's very, very common. When I spoke about Bitcoin's love language yesterday, which is to fuck both sides equally, That's exactly what would allow us to get a deviation down to a level like this and then come right back up for the real price action. Anyone that was long over here gets screwed over. Anyone that was short down here gets screwed over. Bitcoin loves to produce these kind of characteristics, and if you're set to trade them, if you're able to take advantage of these opportunities, you are flying sky high. It's actually fairly obvious to point these things out when you know what to look for, and that's obviously what you're getting when you come here on this YouTube channel. And I need to highlight this opportunity on Bybit with you guys, because if you haven't already taken advantage of it, if you're one of the people that have already signed up or haven't even tried doing that yet, which only takes about 20 seconds anyway, you are missing out. You are part of the group of people. I mean, there's a lot of people that have actually gained access to these deposit bonuses already, thrown them in the market. Doesn't matter what you do with it, right? You can trade sensibly with it, or you can YOLO that shit into a fucking gamble. Doesn't matter, because it was never your money to begin with. But a lot of you guys who have been watching this channel have already been able to take advantage of that. And if you haven't, definitely make sure that you go and correct that. If you're not already on Bybit, by far my favorite exchange. I've been on it for many, many years. And if you are already on Bybit, you can just make a brand new account and take advantage of it. So there you go. I'm getting hyper excited just talking about it right there, because I wish I could just casually get 30k added to my trading account. That is definitely a lot of firepower. You know, and so we've got the Fib retracement now. Here's something interesting though. Here's something that I haven't actually spoken to you guys about very much at all. It's a bit of a weird fractal, to be honest, but I want to show it to you anyway. Now, it takes the EMA ribbon into account, where you know, on this occasion here, in fact, let me just take this back to what we had previously, and I'm just going to hide my camera so that you can see this. What I want to focus your attention on is this price range right here. So I'm actually going to replay the chart to about here and throw on the EMA ribbon again. Now, for context, this is where Bitcoin rallies up to $14,000 from 3K. It goes up to 14, and then it crashes down to 3K. This was the COVID crash, March 2020. And what we had here was a very clear situation, in my opinion, where the price managed to rise, managed to fall below our EMA ribbon, pump up above it again, and then fall below it again, right? If we replay the chart, take a look at what happens next. We plunge right below the EMA ribbon. So twice, Bitcoin pumps above the EMA ribbon. Twice, Bitcoin falls below the EMA ribbon. And here's the craziest part. Twice, we get support on the daily Ichimoku cloud when that exact thing happens, right? Everything I just said before I showed you the Ichimoku cloud is a bit meh. Like, why am I bringing it up? Why is it relevant? Ichimoku, it is a godly combination. This combination comes from heaven. I've literally only been, if you've been watching my channel since 2018, I've literally only been using these two indicators my whole life as a trader, right? Things have come and gone. I've realized that I like certain things and I don't like other things, but the only two universal constants in my analysis has been the beautiful marriage between the Ichimoku cloud and the EMA ribbon. Take a look at this. Pump up above the EMA ribbon, drop below it, pump up above it again, potentially ready to fall down to that 24K juicy support area for Bitcoin. And guess what we have in both instances? That Ichimoku support. Bam, right there and right there. It is made to be, right? When I first saw this, when my lead analyst sent this to me and said, hey, you know, take a look at this, I was like, what the fuck are you showing me, bro? Like, this is a bit of a stretch, you know, this fractal doesn't really make any sense. But I sat with it for a little bit, and it's just eerie, right? When we have the exact same sequence of things happening off a low as well. This was our market low. This was our market low, right? It's just, there's a lot of similarities here that call for a pullback. Now, look, I've got my reasons for why I don't think this is going to happen. You know, the fear and greed index is a little bit too high. Definitely points towards the market dropping, in my opinion. I do not like that. Long and short ratio, on the other hand, retail still majority short in this market. You know, we've got 0.92 long positions for every short, which means that there's more shorts right now from retails. Top traders are more long though, so that's interesting. And when we mix them together, we still have majority shorts. Now, the conditions are not as heavily skewed towards the downside as they were even yesterday, right? Things are changing. This picture changes constantly, but it's not the setup to me that just instantly means we have to pull back. In fact, generally, this is going to mean that we move up. Now, in addition to that, there's more. You know, it's also the fact that Bitcoin has already consolidated. If we take a look at this chart again, just on the BLX chart, and just take a really good, you know, step back and understand what's happening on the chart here. Bitcoin, for example, like right here, moved up and it paused a little bit, right? And then it had a little bit of a pullback. It did some weird stuff. We're in a similar situation right now. We've consolidated for a longer period of time. We're on like day 17 now since we hit this range. That's a really long time. You know, most of this month we have spent well, we're in a new month now anyway, but most of the last month we've spent consolidating. You know, that really does say something. This was a powerful move. And if we were going to pull back, you know, like at what point do you say, well, we would have done it already? You know what I mean? Like at what point do you have to start asking questions like that? On the weekly time frame, looking very, very clearly like we've paused. It does look a bit like a reversal, but again, the reversal would have happened on this candle and it hasn't. So, you know, that's something to keep in mind. S&P 500, my best fucking friend in this market right now, you know, continuing to rise up into that resistance area that I spoke to you guys about. And I also told you that I kind of think we can blast through it. Now, look, this is 4 days of continuous upward price action, right? That's probably not going to happen, right? Eventually, we're going to have to pull back, even if it's temporary, maybe something a little bit like this. But the breakout for the S&P 500, I think, is approaching. Gold, at the same time, continuing to rise. It's the exact setup we need for Bitcoin to break up higher. Look at this, dollar continuing to drop. Everything is and has been in Bitcoin's favor, and that's hard to ignore, right? When we've got such a beautiful setup, fear and greed index is in our favor. And also, the other thing that I covered with you guys yesterday that, you know, may have been brushed over a little bit is that people are not... we're not seeing late longs yet. You know, a lot of the time when we're in these markets, I talk about how too many people are bearish right now. They have been since 17K when I was bullish. They have been since $21,500 when I went long, and they're still fucking bearish at 28K. You know, and what we usually see when these kind of very, very explosive bullish rallies finish, when these very explosive bullish rallies top and get ready to start dropping down, is we get those bearish people finally switch bias right at the end. They follow the classic formula of buy high and sell low, right? That's exactly what most people in this space do. They buy at the very top, they sell at the very bottom, and then they scratch their heads wondering where the fuck everything went wrong. So, you know, obviously we don't want to be one of them, and we need to understand market characteristics and psychology. And this is one of the most typical things that we see, is that late bears become, or I should see people that have just completely been bearish the whole time become bullish at the top. And that hasn't happened yet either. Does it need to happen? No. Is this a very typical uptrend where Bitcoin can potentially even be breaking a bear market? Yes, 100%, without a doubt. This is like exactly how Bitcoin came out of a previous bear market, like we saw from 2020, and even the previous bear market here. We have so many similar characteristics, which we've covered on this YouTube channel. You'll be very well aware of that if you've been subscribed. And so is it then a massive stretch to say that, you know, we're not going to fit the same psychological profile of, you know, bears just, you know, eventually flipping sides at the top? Again, you know, I mean, I've been saying 30 to 40K for a long time. I've been saying that since Bitcoin was nearly half the price, and I maintain my position. That's what I still think we're going to see. It's the fact that Bitcoin has already consolidated for a while. It makes sense. Fear and greed index is in our favor. Here's another thing, though. This is something else that I haven't spoken to you about, is that Bitcoin's now following its most typical pattern of breaking up, which we've already done actually during this little uptrend right here, which is that we move up very aggressively, we move up slowly, we move up aggressively, move up slowly, potentially move up aggressively again, right? We've already done it here. That was only a few days before the pump up to this range. We're doing it again now at a more important price level. I do not see a coincidence here. This is exactly Bitcoin's most typical characteristic, which is that it will pump up and then it will just keep pumping up slowly until it pumps up bigger, you know, more aggressively again. And I've already got, you know, a few different, I mean, I've been speaking to you guys about this for a long time. We had the same thing happen here. Look, quick pump, slow pump, quick pump. Again, quick pump, slow pump, quick pump. We've got the same thing constantly happening on this chart. Are we seeing it again now? I absolutely think so. And does it mean that Bitcoin could rise up, you know, just something a little bit like this, literally following this exact kind of chart pattern? I absolutely believe that that could be what we're seeing right now. So it's still a coin toss in some ways. You know, I don't think it's 50-50. I think we are still more likely to break up, and my money is behind that too, right? I've been in this position that I've shared with you guys publicly and inside of VIP. But, you know, at the same time, I have to be aware of where I could be wrong. I'm prepared for it. If it happens, you can see my stop loss here is set at, I think, a pretty good level, maybe a touch too high, but whatever. I mean, I've already made so much money on this position, so I'm pretty okay with what happens next anyway. You know, and bottom line, I'll continue to update this as I see fit, you know, as the market continues to progress. So really, really juicy trading environment right now. It's not just Bitcoin too, right? I mean, Bitcoin and crypto, you know, everything that you could ever want in your life available on Bybit right here, unless you're a complete shitcoin trader, but then you're not watching this channel, of course. You know, so everything you could need is right here. But traditional finance, you know, spicing up as well, guys. That's why Prime XBT is one of the most important places to be on right now in these markets, in my opinion. With access to the S&P 500, gold, other commodities like silver and oil, Forex, this is the place that you want to be. Check it out with the link in the description down below, because you get up to $7,000 kicked back into your account as a bonus depending on what you deposit. Actually, not depending on what you deposit, just anything you deposit, you get 7% back. As a bonus. You deposit $100,000, you get 107k that you can trade with. Very, very cool. And with access to these markets, it is definitely very, very cool. And obviously 100k is quite a bit of money, but you know, you do the math, you put 10k in, you still get $700. $700 is a lot of money, you know, to put behind a trade that is risk-free. So it's definitely worth checking out. And if you want the rest of what I have to offer, the steps for that are on screen right here. One more time, I want to highlight the brand new YouTube channel I've opened up. Check it out. It's going to be roughly around here in the description. This is my more altcoin-oriented daily analysis channel. It's pretty much like this. Nothing is changing to this channel either, but you're getting even more of me. So if that excites you, then you know where to go. And I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.